All right, well, welcome to the Lion's Share, where we talk family, faith, football, finance, and fun. And I'm super excited today. I get to talk to a couple old friends that go back decades, not years, but we're talking a long ways back. And they've created quite a life for themselves. I'm talking about Bret and Chalene Johnson. I will bring them on the show and get talking. But welcome, Bret and Chalene.
Hey Mitch, how you doing?
It's
Doing
so cool
awesome.
to
It's
be
great.
here.
It's great to
This
see
is
you guys.
crazy.
It's been a little bit, and I alluded to the fact that it goes back a few decades because Shalene and I actually attended Forest Hills Northern High School in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I just remember this little blonde girl coming in that had a year ahead of me, but had a lot of energy, and she was intimidating as hell as heck because I couldn't. I don't know. I don't think I could keep up. She's had a lot of energy, and she maintains it
That's
to this
funny.
day. So. We'll talk about that, and then Bret and I came together at Michigan State University on the football team. Bret transferred in from UCLA in 1990, and we played there 3 years together. He had his significant knee injury a little earlier than mine. I managed to make it 7 years in the pros, but Bret did his Ohio State our senior year, as I
Yeah.
recall. And eventually, we were down to about our fourth quarterback by the end of that year. So what
It's
might have been.
crazy.
Anyway, so well, welcome to the show, and guys, you've had a really interesting life. Let's talk a little bit about if you could just you guys obviously met through the course of school, and I guess
Yes.
and obviously Shalene's
Going too
Turbo
far.
Jam series and everything went kind of crazy in the mid 2000s. But what was Bret and Shalene like up to that point?
Well, we did meet at Michigan State. We met at one of the clubs. The club is no longer there, or it's there,
Doolies,
but what?
Doolies.
No, it was actually Sensation. So
Oh
it's
yeah,
the
below
down,
Dooley's, the dance
yeah,
club.
down
Sure, okay,
below.
I got you.
I went out with our kicker or our punter Josh Butlin that night,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and so yeah, so we met and we dated through the 3 years that I was at Michigan State, and I convinced her to like, let's get out of Michigan and go to California.
Well,
Didn't
more
take a lot.
importantly,
Didn't a
what the
lot to
heck
convince
brought
her.
you? I mean, I know football brought you, but man, you could have gone probably a lot of places besides Michigan and East Lansing, where you must have not visited in January is the only thing I can imagine coming from UCLA.
Correct. I had I actually, when I played at UCLA, I was anticipating playing my 1990 season for the Bruins, and some things happened. Some coaches changed, as people that will be listening to this may or may not know. That happens, and the rules are a lot different today. You
Way
can
different.
just you can just
Yep.
transfer and do whatever you want, and kind of like show up the next day and be ready to play at a different university. But back then the rules were strict, and I had to sit out a whole year. But you are right. I left in August,
Yeah.
and it was a crazy whirlwind. I literally had 10 days to find a new university to go to, because I had to be at that school before they started enrollment, or I'd lose a whole nother year. It was really crazy. So I went to 4 universities, and I was actually all set to go to North Carolina, and play for the Tar Heels. And I got a phone call from my dad, and he said, "Hey, why don't you stop off at Michigan State on the way home and check out that place? I got a really close friend, Pat Morris,
Yeah.
who was our offensive line coach. He came from Stanford,
Yeah.
so being a West Coast guy, there was some family connections there, and he said, stop by there, and I think you might really like it, Bret. You can just check it out." And I remember walking into the Duffy Doherty building and seeing the picture of the Rose Bowl, that Michigan State had played
Yeah.
at in whatever it
1988.
was,
1988 Rose
1980.
Bowl. Yeah.
There you go. And it was a big picture of that. And that was UCLA's home stadium. So I had played in that stadium the year before, and I was like, that's it. I need to go back there. I need to, try to get the Spartans back into the Rose Bowl. And that really is what did it. And then just being around some of the guys, I was out at practice. I don't know if you remember, but I was out at, I think, two of the practices, and I just felt really comfortable. I felt comfortable with the way Perlis communicated. And so I just kind of felt a little bit more home there, and I switched my mind and decided to become a Spartan rather than a Tar Heel.
Yeah, well, we're glad you did. And so Chalene, so this would have been probably 1990, I suspect, or early 91 at Sensation. So you look across the dance floor and you see what? I mean, here you are, this hip hop fitness dance queen.
Oh
I
my
mean,
gosh.
what is he bringing to the table at that point?
I was just like, he just didn't look like the guys he was there at the bar with. And I knew he was there with football players. I recognized the lineman, and he asked me to dance. And I'm like, why are you here with football players? And he's like, I didn't ask him if he was a football player. He didn't look, I thought football players were all like
Yeah,
6'10" and,
right, right.
300 pounds. And he's like, I just moved here and these are the first guys that I met. And I'm like, well, don't hang out with football players. Those guys have like a really bad reputation. He's like, oh, okay, noted. And then we swapped beeper numbers, and
Beeper.
the rest
I
is
love
the rest is
it.
Yeah,
history.
it was actually Mitch. It was with the first 2 weeks that I was there that we met.
Oh,
Oh,
So
yeah.
no
I
kidding.
had just literally just transferred. Everybody was practicing doubles. You guys were already like a couple weeks into practice. I think
Yeah.
you had a game in like a week or two. And I remember being I was by myself across the way in the dorms, all by myself in like the first floor. And I remember
North
like
Case
going,
Hall, probably.
yeah, I was like, where am I? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was my thought at 20 years old.
Yeah.
He didn't tell me he was a football player until I asked, because I worked for a law firm in downtown East Lansing, or downtown Lansing, and my boss was an alumni, and I told him that I'd met this kid from who transferred from UCLA, and his name was Bret, and that's all I knew about him really. And he one day threw the newspaper down, the Lansing State Journal, on my desk. He goes, "Is this the guy that you're dating?" And he had a helmet on in the photo, and I'm like, I don't think so. That doesn't look like him. And I said, I'll ask. And so he said, yeah, that's me. And I said, why didn't you tell me you played football? And he said, well, you didn't ask. I'm like, oh, all
He
right.
just he
Fair.
just said
That's
don't
fair.
hang out with them. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's funny. So, all right. So you guys are attached at the hip from early on at MSU. You leave MSU, and then what?
Well, when we were at Michigan State, and Mitch, you might remember this from high school, but like I've always been like, okay, how can we make money? Let me have some
Well,
creative
yeah, that's
ideas.
funny. Not to interrupt you, but well, maybe you're going to continue on this. But I read, did a little research on my, pre 2000 Chalene, but the car
Uh-huh.
flipping thing, I never knew that.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's how I flipping cars is how I paid for college. But like there are even things I was thinking
Yeah.
back on high school when I was a senior. I organized this on our first day of senior year. I got all the seniors to pitch in, and we came to school dressed in black like it was a funeral, and we came in limousines.
I don't
And
remember that.
I charged all my classmates. And do you remember the game Assassin?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, I started that.
Still
And
going.
finally,
It's going strong. It's to this day.
Finally, there's someone here to confirm that. And I made everybody pitch in. So that was like another little money-making scheme that I had. But anyways, when we were at state, I was operating a business called the All Michigan Auto Swap Meet. Bret helped do that with me. So he kind of knew
The
going into this that like,
entrepreneurial side of
yeah,
you. Yeah. What he
yeah,
was in for,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah. So then when we got to California, I thought I would go to law school, but I was doing all these other side businesses at the same time and realizing I had a lot more freedom and creativity, and I didn't really want to be a lawyer. And after Bret stopped playing football, he became very involved in the money side of our business, and which was very important because that's what was missing. And also his competitive nature. So we started doing business together probably in
We got married in 95, and we had our first kid, our son in 97. It was shortly after that.
Yeah.
That I stopped doing everything. I stopped playing football in 94. So I went up to the CFL for a year, and then I got an opportunity to go to the Falcons with a tryout, and I didn't make it. I got cut, and I was just like,
Probably
I'm
because I was
done.
catching balls for you down there or something. I probably dropped a bunch of them, and next thing you know, they don't sign you.
That's funny. I just remember being in the locker room with Andre Rison, so that was kind of fun. Like
Bad
to have,
moon. Yeah.
yeah,
He was.
to have somebody close and like looking out for you a little bit. But so yeah, that was so once I finished, that competitive nature. So I had to learn like some kind of like entrepreneurial skills like Chalene had, because I didn't grow up that way. I mean, I
Right.
grew up probably much like you, Mitch, like where it's just like, okay, you played basketball and football and you maybe played baseball and then you didn't have no time to work.
You had
And
plan A and plan B
yeah,
will figure out.
yeah, it's literally like, yeah, I'm going all in. I'm gonna try to be a pro in one of these things.
Yeah.
And that was like that was goal number one when you're 11 years old. And once that, it stops for everybody. So
Yeah.
once it stops, then you got to be like, oh, what are we going to do?
And who am I?
Yeah, and who am I? And
Yeah,
I know
that's a tough time.
I didn't want to work for somebody.
Yeah.
And I saw Chalene doing that, and then we were both like, at the beginning of your marriage and just starting out in your 20s, and you know this about like investing in wealth and stuff like that. It's just like at that beginning stage, you don't have a pot to piss in. And you literally are trying everything. So like Chalene was doing 3 or 4 things. I was doing 2 or 3 different things. I was starting up like a private quarterback school. Now there's one every weekend
Right.
across the country. But like my dad and I were like the first to have like a major
Right. I remember that.
quarterback school. I mean, I don't want to take 100% of the credit, but I'll take a little bit of credit. The reason why Kirk Cousins was at Michigan State was because, I had worked with him in the off season, and I called the coaching staff and I said, "You're missing the boat. Take this kid." I mean, he got hurt as like
Turned out all right.
Yeah,
He's done all right for himself, including a game winner last night.
Yeah, and I still chat with them every once in a while. But so I dove into that, but then Chalene started like she figured out like I'm not going to law school, and she started to I'm going to let her tell the story, but she started to teach a format that she really like she created on her own, which will then lead into what you're saying in 2005 is Turbo Jam. But I'll let her
I'd love to hear it.
That's kind of like
Well, I think probably the most interesting and relatable takeaway from it is that like most entrepreneurs, I was doing like 5 different things, thinking that that's how I'm going to make the most money because they're all making a little bit of money. One of these things is going to pop, but none of them were popping. And I was working like 90 hours a week and running myself ragged.
Scattered everywhere.
And I just took the advice of a mentor who said, you're not going to be successful at anything until you become known for one thing. Like you really need to focus on one thing. And I'm like, but they're all great ideas and I like all of them. And so the way that I decided to go with fitness was simply, it seemed like the quickest, like I could see there's an opportunity. I could see that there was a money-making opportunity fast. And the other ones weren't it seemed like a longer play.
So what were some of the other ones just quickly?
Sure. Well, I was still flipping cars.
Okay.
I was also doing in-home personal training, and I had a team, not like a franchise, but we were headed in that direction for in-home personal training. I'd written a book on how to start a personal training business, and I was trying to teach women through a seminar how to start their own business from home, their own small business from home.
Okay.
And I was teaching.
So you were teaching how to do the business before you'd even really narrow down and laser focused your own. I mean,
yeah, because I knew that that's how we were where we were. Like I knew that's how I paid for my college, and I knew that's how, all these like little businesses, none of them were like huge, but like I wanted to teach other women how to do this.
Yeah.
And then I was teaching fitness classes where I recognized pretty early on that it was a losing proposition for most fitness instructors, that they weren't making any money and they're spending hours and hours and hours creating the choreography, the class, the routine. And I just thought back on when I was in middle school and high school, my mom taught jazzercise. And I'm like, that's a business model that I could update. Like it's already been done. Let me just update this. So I really copied what was already out there, the jazzercise model.
You just stopped trading dollars for hours and figured out how to do it big, right? And that's
exactly.
cool.
So initially we just marketed to fitness instructors and then health clubs, and at a certain point, how many
that got pretty big. So we certified instructors to teach the format, and that got ginormous until to the point where like we couldn't take care of just Chalene and a couple of people like all over the country, the demand of the program to go into health clubs. So we started to attract like local, like we call them area promotional directors. And what they did was, in their own area, they built up the community, they built up the classes, they built up the the culture of the program.
Yep.
So at the height, we had 60, 65 of these all over the country. Plus we had a couple other, outside of the US, these area promotional directors. And like every single weekend, Mitch, there would be 6 to 10 certifications with anywhere from 20 to 60. And it was that
Sometimes
big.
over 100.
Yeah. At the beginning, there was like 100 instructors, and they would just come and want to learn like how to teach this teach this properly. They wanted to, a lot of them, once it started rolling, didn't even care that they were ever going to teach. They just wanted to be certified because it was kind of like
the next step.
Yeah, like a little feather in their
Badge
cap.
of honor.
Yeah, and the business model worked because it was set up for continuity, which was again the jazzercise model. So once you became a turbo kick instructor, then you paid a monthly fee to receive new choreography, new music, so that it became that reoccurring revenue for us. And then we developed an apparel line, and sold people that. And again, the culture was a big piece of it. This is in the late 90s, early 2000s. We were in the United States, we got like the really big health clubs as our clients. So we were in hundreds and hundreds of health clubs, people teaching my program, but they were learning it from their instructor.
Right.
And what happened is those instructors would send me these incredible stories about their students. They're like, oh my, they've been teaching for like 4 or 5 years. And they're like, this person's lost 100 pounds. This person's lost 70 pounds. And they would send me their stories and their photos. And just to like, kind of like inspire me, I would print them and save them, and I put them in this binder. And that binder eventually became a $1 million binder, that's for sure, because
multi-million-dollar binder.
The infomercial company started, this is timing is so much of this too, like, success is luck and preparation and all those things. But like the luck piece of this was that Taibo and Windsor Pilates were huge infomercials.
Yeah.
And so all the infomercial companies were trying to replicate that. They're trying to find another fitness program. So they were all knocking on our doors and saying, we want to take your program and take it to the consumer. And so we went and found an agent. We found an agent in San Diego who had represented Tony Robbins. Mm-hmm. And we met with him, and he had a real attitude. In fact, he said, he wasn't going to meet with us. He's like, everybody thinks they have something unique. Everybody thinks like their thing is going to be the next thing. It won't be. But because you're a friend of so-and-so, I'll meet with you. And so we're like, all right.
He did not know about the notebook.
Yeah.
Like he did not know about the before and after folder.
And we didn't know either. We didn't know it was a big deal.
And Chalene just brought it. And like, just brought it to the meeting just to like, maybe this is what we do.
I was proud.
She was proud of it.
Pitch book. That's a great pitch book.
Oh yeah. And he opens up the book and starts rattling through it. And I kid you not, there was over 200 before and afters there, ranging from 10 pounds to over 130 pounds of weight loss.
Man.
And they all are willing to say it was this fitness program that did it. Like, and there's no meal, and we had no meal plans. We weren't telling them what to eat. Mm-hmm. So it was just based on going to this gym and working out and doing this.
Get off the couch and move. And
turbo kick. Yes.
That alone.
But it was only in the gym at this point. And he looked at us and he's like, I will represent you.
That's amazing. Yeah. And so that's what year?
2003.
So probably. 2003, you've got a couple little rugrats at that point. And you're growing this, and now it's starting to gain some steam. The snowball's getting bigger as it's going down the hill. How are you managing two little ones that are probably just starting up school about this time, right? How are you handling all that? How's that going?
It was a lot, because I was I had taken on coaching, so I was a volunteer, like walk-on coach with my dad. He decided to take another program after he watched my brother and I play my brother ended up playing in the NFL for over 10 years. So he took off 10 or 11 years to watch us play in college and pro. And so we were still doing all of these things. And like you said, with the kids, so it was
It was
It,
hell,
it was,
actually.
yeah,
It was terrible.
it was hard, real
I mean,
hard.
it was really, really hard, and it
Let's
was
cut to the
really
chase, Brett.
messy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
And it
football
was
doesn't
really
take any
messy.
time. Football coaching hardly takes up any hours in the week.
Yeah. I mean, it was looking back on it, that was probably not the right decision at that point, but I don't know. It was like, it was still in me to do it.
Yeah.
So, and Shalene knew it was important. So, I mean, but it was hard. Like, trust me, it was hard to have those two little ones,
Oh yeah.
business starting to just kind of get some legs, and you know, and then all of a sudden in your married still, you know, you have to have time for that as well. So
So
yeah, it was.
what's your looking back on that time, because obviously and we'll get into this, you're inspiring a lot of people to do just what you've done, right? I mean, empowering people to do that. What's your advice to them for the couple that has that same position, young kids, and you're trying to get this business, man, you're trying to get the business rolling. What's your
Go to therapy.
best bit of advice for them?
Go to therapy individually. I think, and everyone has a different opinion on this, but I do think individual therapy is what brought us to where we are today and saved our marriage and saved our parenting skills. Like,
Mhm.
we learned how to prioritize. We were in survival mode, and we were both addicts. I was addicted to work. Brett was,
I was gambling.
and those two addictions go hand in hand.
Yeah.
One feeds the other, and we were just so busy that even though we were still like really connected, like we never got to that place where we resented each other or didn't realize we were on the same team, but we were running so fast and we didn't know how to slow down, and we didn't know how to say no to opportunities. We thought they were just going to keep coming and coming and coming. And, the gambling was a huge implosion in our marriage. And I personally think that the marriages that can endure an implosion are the strongest. They're the most beautiful. They're the most rewarding, because we had a 2.0 marriage. We weren't the same people after that happened.
Right.
And we were better parents, and we were better partners.
I think once we got through that implosion and through that valley, so to speak, we came out on the other side, like Shalene said, much better, different, a 2.0. But in terms of creating a balance between work and life, I think we really sat down and discussed that. And what we decided was, we're only going to get one chance at being a parent. So let's be fucking really good at that. Really good at that. Let's make that the rock. Like, if anything if our business doesn't do that great, no big deal. We'll find a way to make money, but we can't take back those years. So we really poured into that. And we knew at that early age, like, there's only one season to raise them. Like, they only have one, seventh grade basketball tournament, that's important to them. And
Absolutely.
we decided that missing things was not going to happen. Like, we never missed any games with two playing sports. Very rarely were we not at both at one spot, but sometimes, we divide and conquer. One goes with our daughter and one goes with our son, and then we, trade off. But, so it was just like we just made a conscious effort during that season to prioritize the kids.
So did those times, so that's when you began therapy? Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's, you saw the writing on the wall. Hey, this movie doesn't end well unless we get some
Right.
help. And so you
Yeah.
started.
When I discovered the gambling, I took some time before I confronted him with it to collect receipts and to figure out, what am I going to do? Like, I'm going to confront him. If he says this, I'll do this. If he says that, I'll do that. Like, I had planned A, B, C, D. So I was very calm, and I kind of knew what I would do based on what he said he was going to do. And, thankfully, I think a lot of times when this implosion happens, one party is reluctant to take responsibility, reluctant to do the things they need to do. And he was very willing, and he was relieved. He was very relieved that I found out. And so we were like in two different headspaces.
The big elephant in the room that you'd hope she never see, right?
Yeah, it was like that 500-pound gorilla being lifted off my back. I knew that just by the way she talked to me that like I knew what I needed to do, and I was more than willing to do it and to change. And so that was important. And, for family, the kids, the whole 9 yards. And I wouldn't have done it any other way.
Yeah.
And so he went to therapy, and I thought, okay, well, that's what he needs to get fixed. And then I think his therapist suggested I go to therapy, and I was like, for what?
Aka what?
Yeah. And so then when I went to therapy, I discovered all of like my addiction to working and to making money. Like I was addicted to making money for other people. It wasn't that I was addicted to money. It was like that's how I validated myself, was making money for other people.
Yeah. Bret, with the gambling.
Mitch, hold on. Can you hear the landscapers?
No.
Okay, good.
No, we're good. Brad, going back to the gambling, do you think, and I don't know when that started for you, but do you think that was a function of, hey, football is kind of, hey, it's done, my end of my competitive outlet? Was that kind of when it set in? Because I could see that happening for a lot of guys.
Correct. It escalated. Like I was kind of raised around gambling.
Oh yeah.
So it was always around. So it wasn't like a new thing where like I needed to like learn like what it made me feel or like what it was about.
It wasn't gambling for dummies. You were in the know.
Yeah. I mean,
All
I
right.
was at an early age, family vacations around going to Del Mar racetrack and getting a beach house. And like, that was like our family vacation before football season started for my dad. So, yeah, and it just escalated. And the more you get involved, your competitiveness and just like, it just becomes part of like, it was just an addiction. It's just like any other, it's just a bad addiction, whether it's like, distraction,
No doubt about it. I've known plenty of people that have struggled with it, and for me, for me, I could see how I could have that problem because I'm competitive as all get out, right? But $1,000 isn't going to change my life. But if I lose $1,000, man, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to win that back, or I'm going to make one. So I've learned the hard way, that just stay away from it because it's not worth it. It's not changing my life, and it just frustrates me when I lose it. So it's
at this point, for the last probably 15 to 18 years, that's basically been another motto too. I mean, I quit cold turkey. I'm a very black and white person. Like, I can just, you tell me to do something, I'm just like going to do it. And especially if it's somebody that I love. But like with you, there's no amount of money right now that I could be willing to risk to even get that high. It would be too much of a risk, and I would never do that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your transparency, and I didn't know that, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, okay, so all right, we're through the kid. The kids, you got a handle on the marriage now. You've got the gambling under control. Now this thing's starting to continue to build. So what's next?
Well, it really got to a point where we were realizing again, it's too much. Like, things kept coming and coming and coming. And then once the show was on TV all the time, opportunities just kept coming and coming and coming. And so we had our own business serving the fitness instructors. And then we had the consumer business, those two things running simultaneously. I had a show that tanked. It didn't do well on TV. It was like maybe my second or third infomercial.
Yeah. So another infomercial, a different category.
Yeah. So I've done a bunch of them now. But when the first one that tanked, I was shocked.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, because I really thought it was going to be so much bigger than Turbo. And when it didn't do well on TV, I was like, oh, holy shit, like this could go away. And then I started looking at the industry and realizing this is when YouTube started to take off. And I was watching the trends. I'm noticing people are putting free fitness workouts on YouTube, and people aren't channel surfing as much anymore. So I knew like infomercials, I could see that infomercials were like a short-lived opportunity. And we both were like, we didn't tell anyone. We didn't tell our employees. We just said, we need to sell this. We need to sell our IP. We need to get out of fitness because this ain't going to be a moneymaker. And we need to figure out, now I get to go back to the thing I was so passionate about before any of this started, which is teaching people how to start a business.
which is right. I know you've asked a couple times about timelines. So this is about 2010, 2011, where we start having private conversations about
Sale.
the sale
Yeah.
of we need to kind of separate ourselves and sell this business, because we saw the writing on the wall. Like we did not stay too long. Like we got out at the right time because of YouTube coming along, and and also, I mean, let's not just give that foresight all the credit. It was also that now the kids are starting junior high, the travel for them, their sports are more important. They're, both of them are becoming pretty good athletes. And it was time for us to like do something else.
And we needed more freedom with the success of the programs, the fitness programs, and the companies that I partnered with. They were now doing lots and lots and lots of public events. And we had negotiated into our contract that I just didn't do them. I think I agreed to do like 2 a year, but the other fitness folks were doing something every single weekend, and we just couldn't or wouldn't, I should say. And also I could see what was happening. So we started teaching people how to build a business online. And we started a program, like an online academy called the Marketing Impact Academy, and started teaching people the basics. Like, how do you go from, I've got this idea, how do I build a business online? And including the social media, how do I sell it? How do I build funnels? How do I build a landing page? What do I do with when someone's on my email list? How do I figure out pricing? How do I figure out, all of these tripwires and things that are, new to someone who at that point, people were just starting to figure out the online space.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. So, it's incredible that you guys saw ahead, right? Saw through in the crystal ball a little bit and saw the whole YouTube thing going, and you've built what you have today. And so maybe you don't want to share it with your competitors out there, but I mean, what do you see? Where does this thing go? You guys are mid-50s now. I mean, what does this thing look like long term? I know your kids are involved to some extent. So what does this look like for Team Johnson as you look at the next 5, 10, 15 years?
Well, thankfully, the gambling happened pre-making a lot of money. So we've been able to, yeah. So we have been able to really invest really wisely. So
you made that your full-time job.
Yeah, that basically, other than, I did a lot of managing the people. Like right now we have 45 basically contractors. I think we only have 2 employees. Everybody else is like a contractor. We're completely 100% virtual staff, like 7 or 8 different countries. So Slack is a huge component for us. And so I manage a lot of that and some of the, some of the marketing, some of just the logistics. But basically my full-time job is to make sure that what we sold when we sold our company, how well we've done in the infomercial world and some of our real estate keeps making us money. And so that we can do what we want to do, rather than like wake up in the morning and it's like, we have to do that. If we don't want to do something now, or if a business starts feeling like, this doesn't feel great right now, or we want to take a time out, that's what we do.
The goal is to have our money work a lot harder than we do. And, I think partly Bret had this like guilt. I mean, I don't know if that's the word you would use, but like he just, when we were getting out of the gambling, that we were almost $500,000 in debt. And we vowed not to file for bankruptcy, but to pay everybody back. And we did. And, it was a heavy burden. And at that time, I think he felt a lot of guilt and how heavy that was for both of us. And he just went in and like spent every single day, like the first 4 hours of every day, learning everything he could about investing, like really went back to school for that. And then has focused exclusively on making sure that we work less so our money works more. But aside from that, I still, he always says, Chalene, we don't have to do anything. Why are you doing this? We don't have to do anything, because it's how I get.
That was my next question. I'm like, that all sounds fine and dandy, but Shalene's got this competitive entrepreneurial side to her.
Yeah.
2 month vacation in Europe probably was great, but you're probably itching,
No, she wants to stay longer.
Scratch.
Don't kid yourself. She wants to stay longer. But about Chalene. So it's to a point now where Chalene's, we call them lifers, people that have been with Chalene for a long time. Some of these people that are been following Chalene have been following Chalene since 2002, 2003.
Or even before.
Even before that. So Chalene's kind of always been one of those, I'll call it an influencer because that's what people understand the term as. But I mean, we don't
It's
ever
fair
use
though. I
word,
mean,
but
general representation, but yeah.
there you go. That she's going to be teaching what she's learned makes her life easier. It's kind of like, so like right now she's gone through menopause. She has a fitness background. She has a huge platform. She has a podcast that can attract the top doctors in the country to come on her podcast and talk about these things. So she has created a new program that is focused on helping the premenopause, menopause woman like go through it in a different way than their moms went through it, because it doesn't have to be that way, because she went through it and she didn't mind it. And she actually, like she'll even say, she's like, it wasn't that big of a deal to her. And she wants to help other people. So it's always so all of our businesses that we've done, the commonality is that we're always trying to help people's lives be a little better.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Brett, I think the book opportunity for you is to how to help husbands help their wives through menopause. That's the next book for you.
Oh, well, you got to start.
Because guys are
perimenopause.
clueless, man. We're like, I don't know what's going on with her, right? And so, but that's a difficult. It can be a difficult time in life for sure. So, obviously for the woman, but the men who we're generally not as smart as our wives and don't understand what the heck's going on. So, but I know you've done a book in the past on in fitness and stuff, but is that something you see on the horizon, Chalene?
I don't think so. I hate writing books. Absolutely. I absolutely hate it. I've written two. One was a New York Times bestseller, but I hated it. And so, and they don't make any money.
Well, if you hate it, you might as well not waste your time on it.
Exactly. And they, unless you have a back end. So the only way I would write a book today, I've thought about this, is if I just recorded the whole thing and then, someone transcribed it and I self-published it, because I didn't like working with publishers. I hate having a boss. I hate being told what to do. And
we don't do well
I hate
with
publicity. I hate networking. I hate all that stuff. So
we don't do well with people telling us like what to do. Like when you wake up in the morning and somebody's like, you got to do this, this, and this. And we're like, what?
And it's due by this time. I'm like, oh man,
that's not our jam.
Well, I want to turn the conversation to I listened to Chalene's recent podcast regarding your 30 days of no alcohol, right? And I found it I found it pretty interesting actually, because I find myself asking the same thing. It's like, do I drink a ton? No. Do I have a drink? Probably 6 days out of 7. Yeah. I'm at work, I work in the house, but I come down after a long day and it becomes just kind of what you do, right? You grab a glass of wine and, the next thing you know, maybe you got a little topper. And like you said in the podcast, nobody's home pour is anything like the CDC is saying. So your one drink is probably at least 1.5, right? And if you fill it up again. So I found it interesting. So what day are you guys on? I don't know if you're keeping count by the day here.
We're at like 2 months.
Yeah, a couple months.
Okay.
We stopped the last week when we were on our
July 17th.
Okay. And I like the exchange you had about you asking Brett, you don't want one? You haven't thought about it? No, because he's a black and white guy. He's black and white.
I don't even believe you.
Done.
How could this be?
Yeah.
But also, Mitch, you're a big guy. I mean, so how much you weigh now, Mitch? Because you're 6'4", 6'5".
265, because I tore my pec about 9 weeks ago, so I haven't been able to work out like I'd like to. So
but your normal play weight's about 240, probably.
No, not even two. I mean, no, not that low. I should say two. Okay. I'm happiest at 255 to 260. So
okay, so
I'm a big boned boy.
Yeah, I'm 6 foot, 195 pounds, and Chalene is 5'2".
You don't have to say my weight.
100 something, low.
A $105 on soaking wet.
Yeah. And so when we would go out to dinner, our choice of beverage was champagne. Yeah. And champagne's like the lowest amount of alcohol. and we would only drink like stuff from, so no additive preservatives and stuff like that, kind of
Sure.
like Shalene's talked about. But me to have 2 or 3 glasses of champagne at a
It's
restaurant
not the same as me.
over 3 hours at
Right.
195 pounds, like I'm not even like, it's basically like, oh, okay, well, it wasn't really doing anything to me other than like what you were saying. Like at the end of the day, it's kind of like a
becomes
treatment.
habit. It becomes a ritual.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
for
I
me,
just,
it
that
became a
was,
marker, like end of day.
yeah, because I've thought of it multiple times. Like it's always like you know, during the summertime, right? Oh, it's gonna be hard not to do it. You're on the boat, you're on the golf course, you're hanging out with friends at the
Yeah.
pool. It's just
Everyone drinks.
yeah, and everybody does it, right? And it's like you do get I get to the point where I'm like, why do we have to? Why don't we try not doing this one night just
Yeah.
to see if we can stack a couple together? Because why are we doing it? It's not like I'm drinking to excess where I'm getting drunk. I'm not
Right.
doing it for the high, you know what I mean?
Right.
It just it really made me think about it. I'm sure it has a lot of your listeners as well, and I'm sure a lot
Yeah,
of people
it's
are.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
and there weren't a lot of conversations about that kind of middle area drinker, that person who's not getting hammered, who doesn't have hangovers, doesn't have low points.
Hmm.
You know, there's just not a lot of conversations about that. And what's so weird about drinking is it's encouraged. Like everyone needs to drink all the time. It's so weird if you don't drink.
Right,
It's so
right.
weird if you don't drink. Yet, if you go just a little bit too far, then there's this moral stigma, like,
Yeah.
oh, they're a
Person with
heavy
point
drinker.
at you. Yeah, that is
Crazy.
true. That is true. Wow, she was lit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
I've the only thing that I've found, well, I found 2 things. One, it hasn't really affected me. Like I don't notice any more energy. I do notice that my sleep, because I do wear uh an Aura ring con. So I have, that to track sleep and stuff like that.
Mhm.
My sleep has definitely improved in terms of deep and REM, 100%. And I stay asleep a little bit longer.
Did you see that immediately, or did it take a period of time?
About
Pretty quick.
no, pretty quick.
Okay.
Pretty quick. But like energy, weight loss, muscle definite, nothing like that.
But
But
we're only 2 months in.
we're only 2 months in.
She's
You do
hoping you get
get,
a little more cut, Brett. She's
yeah, I
hanging
know,
on
me
there.
too. Yeah. I will tell you, you do get served more poorly. Like the service is not as good. I mean, you order a mocktail or sparkling water, they kind of look at you like the tip's not
You
going to.
hear the wah wah.
There
Lena
goes
and I
the
have started.
bill.
Lena and I have started front tipping, like literally
Yeah.
just giving them like a tip up front, and just like, hey, we're
Hey,
just
there's more
because
where
we're
this
not
came
drink.
from. Take care of me.
If there, yeah, we're here to have a nice time, so we expect like
Yeah.
good service, and just because we're not drinking doesn't mean we're not going to tip.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. So that's funny. All right. So you're into the 2 months and don't see it changing. I mean, I know you mentioned, geez, would it be something I'd go back and, try to
I
dabble
mean, I have this,
socially? Because it's not like you
yeah,
had a problem, right? It's not like you had a problem, but
right, no.
yeah.
But it is a problem, right? Like, because I mean, now it's like smoking. It's like once you know, it's hard to put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah.
And once I started looking at the research, I don't have, I've got ADHD, so my brain isn't great as it is. I don't want to have dementia. I've seen it firsthand. I don't want to have cancer. And now knowing I would be in, like, I know this now. So if I'm drinking, even on a semi-regular basis, I'm knowingly putting my family through that. And I just can't do that knowingly. I just can't do that. As much as sometimes it does sound really good, like when things are annoying or it's been like one of those
Yeah.
days where all tech goes wrong and you're like, oh, just F it. Let me have a glass of champagne. I mean, I still have those days, but I also like
Yeah.
that. And I feel more authentic because as a health influencer, someone who wants to help women, like they're looking at what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so I felt like this cognitive dissonance. Like I don't want to look at it because I know it's wrong. I know it's not helping anyone.
Yeah. So, which leads to that next question for you. So, you've got a big following, you got a lot of followers. Any backlash on the anti-alcohol take?
Yeah, and it's not a backlash. It's I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
I
interesting.
know
I
what
can
you're
see
saying. It
stats.
makes complete sense. I just want to ignore it.
Same. I mean, that's
Yeah.
even people who I really respect and I listen to their podcasts and I look at the science that they're talking about. Whenever they talked about alcohol, I would be like, because I didn't want to know. I didn't want
Yeah.
to hear it. So I
Yeah.
get it. So, like right now I'm doing a challenge and I want to help that person who's like, I don't want to quit entirely, but I probably should drink less. And so I'm doing a challenge in October
Mhm.
where I'm helping people to figure out what does that look like?
Yeah.
Like, how can I help you drink less? And maybe for some people that is to abstain, but for a lot of people, just drinking less is so much healthier.
Right, right. No,
It's hard to do.
absolutely. And well, that's encouraging. So, we talk, the lion's share, we talk family, faith, finance, football, and fun. You guys obviously you have some fun in your life. I did read a bit about your faith and how, I kind of like the alcohol thing. I wondered if you lost followers and whatnot, but I know you've mentioned the past when you've had conversations about your faith, you've had some people drop off and whatnot as far as followers because you're sharing your faith, and the article I read, you said, well, that's okay because I want to associate with people with like-minded. So I guess
Yeah.
just in terms of not only that, but just in general, with criticism that you get online and whatnot, or anybody gets, right? If you're a public figure, how do you handle that amongst you guys?
Do you want to address?
Well, I guess I think we both have this similar, but I don't really care. I could care less what anybody thinks of me. I have a tight circle of people, and I don't screw people over. I'm very black and white. If you come to me, I'll like literally tell you like, no, I don't want to do that, or yes, I want to do that. If somebody doesn't like me through like social media, or they don't know who I am, I could give a rat's ass. Like I've been through ups and downs and over and everything I've been through in my life. Like I could care less if those people don't like me. Like it really just is like, I'm like, what is it, like a duck with the water just right off his back. It doesn't
Right.
bother me.
Yeah.
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 How about
Yeah.
you,
Same.
Chalene?
It doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. I would say probably it bothers me less than it bothers him. You
Now,
get more upset if it's directed at me, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care, because someone who has a problem with me, usually they don't like themselves. So like, why would I care if they don't like me? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you don't even like
Right.
yourself. And so I don't worry about it too much. And also, the more people who are attracted to you, the more you're going to divide people, and that's okay too. When it comes to bring it back to your question about faith, I just believe that everyone's entitled to their own experience, and I prefer to have people around me who are open-minded, and I don't think it's ever wise to like hide who you are. I think you have to make it very obvious who you are. The things that are important to you anyways, so that people can make a decision for themselves. And then you attract people who are like, yeah, there's this, and this that I kind of relate to. And if there's certain things that they don't relate to, that's okay too. And we've been in this long enough that for me, I protect my peace. So for example, we've, in all of our communities, etc., my team knows, I said, if there's someone who's like ripping me to shreds, don't bring it to me unless there's something I should do about it.
Hmm.
Like if I've messed up, tell me. But if they just are just shredding me to shred, don't ruin my day.
And
Why,
definitely
don't bring that to me, and definitely don't bring it to him.
bring it to me, because that's like I said, I don't really care if you have a bad opinion about me, but like if somebody's talking like false shit about somebody in my family or close circle, it's not gonna, and I have access to that person, it's not gonna be good for that person.
I
Yeah,
love it.
that's true.
Well, Papa Bear has got to take care of the tribe. So that's great. So what's next, guys? You've built a great, amazing life, and by all accounts and by all appearances for yourselves. I mean, yeah, and you continue to help others try to do the same thing for themselves, which is great.
Yeah.
So we only get one go around in this life. So God willing, you got another. Probably Shalene's got a few more than you, Brett. As I always say, my wife's, her grandma's 102. She's probably going to live a few years longer than me. So,
Yeah.
but what's out there? What do you want to accomplish? What's out there on the horizon for you guys?
I
What's on the
don't
bucket
ever.
list?
Yeah, I try to never have a plan because I know God's plan is better, and
He'll laugh at you.
that's right. And
Yeah.
and I had no idea I would be doing what I'm doing today, even 6 months ago. So I just wait to see how life evolves. And what I'm super passionate, excited about, usually whatever it is I've been through, I want to help other people go through that. And I don't know what God's going to put in front of me 6 months from now. So whatever he puts in front of us, that's probably what we'll be working on.
Yeah, it's I think it's pointless to like make too far advanced plans. I mean, if you'd have told us 2 years ago that we'd be living in Miami Beach, we would have told you were crazy. We knew we were leaving California. We just never thought Miami would be the place. And here we are, and we love it, and we'll be here again next year. So
flexibility is what we want.
Yeah, we would definitely want flexibility, ability to, and the ability to not be tied down. Like I can just think of right now, we have like one thing in our work environment that is a little bit of a like kind of a partnership, and they rely on us to do some things, and it's just like, I don't know if we want to continue with it. It's like, it's because it's somebody's telling you what to do all the time. It's
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, it's good. It's not grinding on you, but he's dealing with it.
Yeah, I just don't. Yeah. You've been sheltered from it a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow, sounds like you guys are gonna have a talk when we get off here. So
Yeah, she'll understand. She'll know as soon as.
Yeah.
As soon as
Well,
I
hey guys, I appreciate you coming on. I know your time is valuable, and I really appreciate it. It's great to get reunited after a few years,
Yeah.
and it's been awesome to see your success and your kids, growing up, and no grandbabies yet, though, right?
Mm-mm.
No, we don't. We won't be having grandchildren. Now, our children may have children, but we won't be grandparents.
Oh, I got you.
You
Okay.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, we're Poppy and Lala, but we have a 3-year-old
love
and
that.
a 3-year-old and about 8-month-old. So that is a
Poppy and
game
Lala?
changer.
That's
That
so
will change your
cute.
perspective on some things for sure when that happens.
That's the
man.
net. That will
Congratulations.
be another,
Yeah,
another
thank you.
season. Yeah, congratulations, Mitch.
Yeah, it's fun. So well, you
And
have that to look forward to.
congratulations on all your success too.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, guys, and you guys have been awesome. And you don't be strangers. And next time in Miami Beach, I'll look you up. I'm heading down to Florida next week, or actually tomorrow. We're heading down tomorrow for Eric Church concert down at St. Augustine on Saturday night. So,
Oh, nice.
but that's a little far north of you. But one of my sons moved down to New Smyrna Beach, so we'll be making some trips down to Florida here in the wintertime.
Oh.
So.
Perfect.
That's amazing.
But thanks for being on. I really appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having us, Mitch.
And thanks for joining the Lion Share. This episode has been brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. So thanks again.